Biggest fear now in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, in Jordan, and elsewhere in UAE is that if there is an uprising in the Middle East, there could be resumption of Arab Spring and their governments can be overthrown, and the Muslim brotherhoods, which have their secret branches in all our countries, they will take over. So the genocide of the Palestinians do not matter to them. These Arab monarchs, they represent Western ideology. They represent Western interest. Someone who thinks that they are part of Muslim Ummah, we will be living in fool's paradise.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياتنا إنه هو السميع البصير.
West and Israel's conflict against Muslims. From policy to propaganda, how Islamophobia is structured into global system of power. And to help us truly unpack, challenge, and understand these narratives, these themes, we have among us a speaker whose insight and research truly matters. It is honor to welcome Mr. Javed Rana, who is geopolitical expert.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري يسر لي أمري. I think to begin with, this is a very touchy subject, and how important it is for us, I think very eloquently Hafiz Sahib has explained in the ayat in a very beautiful manner. The very crux of which is basically that we have a relevance. This is our second Qibla, not the first Qibla, because the first Qibla, the Muslims, ideologically speaking, from Hazrat Adam Islam to our last Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a continuation of Islam. So the first Qibla is in Makkah Mu'azzama, and the second was in East Jerusalem, Baitul Muqaddas. So when we call it a first Qibla, that is basically in the Shariat Muhammadi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this was the first. But pure from the Islamic perspective, this is the second Qibla. But there are hadiths which say that during the end time, Baitul Muqaddas is going to be more sacred than any other religious sites like in Medina Munawwara, Masjid al-Nabawi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Qibla, our Qibla level in Makkah Mosque. So this is the significance. There is a religious significance because of which I think we know how important Palestinian issue is. And that is at the core of the reason that we are here. Otherwise, we would not have been that much concerned about. Now, let's come to the very subject we are talking about. I think to begin with, I just want to report some of the facts which you are not fully aware of. I'm sure all of you are updated, but just to be on the safe side, I want to let you know about what is happening, who are the players, and there are some masked players who are projecting themselves that they are serving the cause of Muslim, but they are serving the cause of apartheid Israel. Always remember, never call it an Israel. It is an apartheid state. There are dozens of laws which clearly, legally discriminate Palestinians. So it is a apartheid Israel. It is an occupied Palestinian territory. So we should be particular about the terminologies that we use, because these are the terminologies which determine the context. So giving you the update, on October 7, nearly 1,100 Israelis were killed Most of them were settlers, their men in their military uniform. And then there were some families of these settlers. Under the international law, attack on them is illegal. Under UN's General Assembly's 1970s resolutions, attack on aggressor on occupying force is justified. So under the genuine international law, the law which majority of the world accept and concede to, this attack was justified. And Israel was continuing attacking Palestinians in Gaza. Why did Hamas opt to attack when they knew that their enemy is a far more stronger? Is there any rationality to attack an enemy? You could have anticipated that they would conduct a genocide. That is a bigger question that everybody raises. And I think I would like to address it also. Why this all happened? Because Netanyahu, for last so many decades, there are his video speeches which are available. He's been saying this is a nonsense of this two-state solution. Palestinian state is already there. Most of the people in Jordan, they are Palestinian. So Palestinians don't need any state. Straight and simple. And Netanyahu was pursuing a declared policy that he would normalize diplomatic ties with the Arab and Muslim countries, regardless of what we do with Palestinians. So he was at the edge of his success story. You may recall under Abraham Accord, many so-called Muslim and Arab countries like Bahrain, UAE normalized ties, Sudan normalized ties. Israel managed it, maneuvered it by overthrowing the government of the President Umar. And they had a favorite government which recognized Israel. So under Abraham Accord, that was a policy which was in place. So let's recall September 2023. The then Israeli Foreign Minister's statement that the 7 Muslim countries are almost ready to recognize diplomatically to the apartheid state. It is September. So Hamas had a geo-strategic calculation that if they don't prevent that from happening, that means there would be no Palestinian state. Pakistan, obviously, our beloved country, was included in it. 7 countries, that was a statement by the Israeli foreign minister. There is no secret about it. Americans have been saying, everybody's saying that they were almost at the edge. Our policies, once Saudi Arabia normalized ties, then we will do it. We had completely done our homework. That is the situation before October 7. So Hamas, we know what happened. There was no killing of 14 children, their heads were sick. This is complete nonsense. This is the propaganda. It did not happen. 1 child was killed. Probably it was because of the collateral damage. Nothing of the sort happened. Israel probably was looking for such an opportunity where they thought that this is the high time to eliminate Hamas. Their declared objective was to eliminate Hamas altogether. Altogether. Everybody, including Americans and the West, was telling them that this is not possible. It is an ideological organization. You cannot eliminate an ideology. What happened from there onwards? Let's now just have a recap of what happened by January this year. I'm giving you the statistics which are by and large latest by now, but the January is important because there was a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. So far, 92% of Gaza has been destroyed in terms of its infrastructure, in terms of housing structure, commercial structure. Civil system is not there. Clean drinking water is not there. I don't think there is any university now. I don't think there is any UN building now. Perhaps there are maybe some clinics. Perhaps, I'm not sure about it. They have destroyed the entire medical infrastructure. They have killed well over 200 journalists. All eyes and ears of what is happening, whatever you are learning from, I mean, they try to silence them. But nonetheless, somehow the other information is being broadcast from there by Al Jazeera, TRT World, and some other few channels, at the expense of the blood of the Palestinian journalists. UN, by and large, is not there. Maybe they have their skeleton presence because Israel has directly hit UN agencies, telling them many members of Hamas were part of your staff, so we are killing you. International Criminal Court issued a arrest warrant of Netanyahu and his outgoing defense minister, along with some members of Hamas, because they had to bracket Hamas to just basically neutralize international pressure that you are treating so-called, from their perspective, terrorists along with the Israeli government. So Americans and the European, by and large, have made fun of the International Criminal Court, International Court of Justice, which gave an interim judgment calling apartheid Israel to bring an end to this terrorism that they are conducting. They use the word of genocide. So using genocide word is now internationally something which is illegal. So far, 51,000 people have been killed. 16,000 people either have been maimed, or they have been wounded, injured, disabled. 6% of the entire population, basically, there are casualties. 92%, I told you early on, infrastructure, housing structure, destroyed. People are living in camps. There are so many safe zones which Israel call people to come out, and then they destroy the safe zones. They go after the people and they destroy them. Now, bigger question is Israel trying to kill only Hamas, or Israel is systematically killing the Palestinians? Let's not make any assessment. Let's go by what Israeli leaders have been saying. Let's go by what that insane man in office, the Donald Trump, has been saying. Donald Trump has given warning, not once, many times. Released prisoners of war. They call them hostage, I call them prisoners of war. Otherwise, you would be killed. He's telling to the Palestinian in Gaza. So killing people is justified if the people, the government that represent them, does not listen to the foreign power. This is a new norm. And then for Donald Trump, he's calling it this tragedy, that it is a real estate site. He wants to set up settlements. And his son-in-law is on the record to have said that I want to set up basically settlements along with Gaza. So that is their strategy. They are calling them to expel all Palestinians from occupied Gaza to Egypt and Jordan and completely vacate it. And there is no third country which is willing to accept it, including Egypt, including Jordan. Now, just some of the salient, horrible features of this war. Israeli troops slitting the heads of babies, some of them posting them on the social media, and taking a pride. Netanyahu, so-called secular prime minister of apartheid state, giving biblical references of killing children, babies. Logic, they will grow up, they will pick up arms, they will kill us. So if you feel threatened, from your enemy, you can kill their children because logic is they will grow up and they will take a revenge. This is a declared theological religious strategy. There is no doubt about it. As a secular, the only democracy in the entire Middle East. So they don't care about anybody. There are around 10,000 Palestinians who are in jails. Women are in jail. Children who were not probably, they are less than 10 years, in their early teens, they have been in jail. They've been tortured. Women have been raped inside jails. And when some of the Palestinian prisoners were released, there were skeletons with which they came out. They were insane. They could not have understand. They lost their mind. In January, when there was a ceasefire agreement, under this ceasefire agreement, phase-wise, prisoners of war from both sides had to be released. And in the second phase, there had to be negotiations on withdrawing Israeli troops from occupied Gaza. So when the second phase came, and even before that, Israel started breaching the ceasefire by killing Palestinians in Gaza. In the second phase, Donald Trump had come into power. He said, no, all Palestinians needs to be expelled. Basically, these are the talking point of what Netanyahu has been saying. And they decided to breach the ceasefire agreement and telling the Palestinian Hamas, release all of remaining prisoners of war and we will extend this ceasefire. If you don't, we'll kill you all. There are pamphlets thrown from the drones, helicopters. Those pamphlets in Arabic are telling, leave Gaza. If you don't, you will be killed. If you think Muslim countries, Arabs, would come to rescue you, no, they won't come. They are our allies. They are our allies. This is a fact, by the way. I will go into that detail, how they are allies. Now, we are back to January. And let's go back to some 7-8 months. Under Biden administration, its defense secretary said that if apartheid Israel does not eliminate Hamas, it will be strategic defeat of Israel. In a broader picture, it does not matter how many people are killed. If Hamas survives, just survives, it is the strategic defeat of Israel. So in January, Hamas was releasing Israeli prisoners of war in front of media, and the Israeli prisoners, they call them hostage, they were hugging their captors, kissing them for the treatment that they had given. And it was a disaster for Israel. That they've been telling to the world that these prisoners of war in Hamas, they are in Hamas torture cell, they are being tortured, they are being mistreated, Hamas is killing them. As a matter of fact, all of the prisoners of war who've been killed, they were killed by the Israeli bombardment. So Israeli felt a disaster. They decided to revoke this ceasefire agreement because Israel had strategically defeated. It survived. There are around 500-kilometer long tunnels under the Gaza city. 365 square kilometers entire territory. And there's a city inside. And Israel has not been able to access it so far. Maybe a part of tunnels they accessed, but still Hamas' strength is intact. Now, from Egypt, Israel has a control, Rafah border, and the rest is already borders with Israel. There is no supply line. It is not less than a miracle that 1 year and 1.5 years has almost passed. Hamas is surviving. They're still launching rockets in the occupied territories. Militarily speaking, it does not make sense that there is no supply line. Even they basically dug up the trenches, Israel, to make it sure that if there are tunnels, they can disrupt it from all sides. Nonetheless, rockets are being fired. I think for a regular military, it is difficult to sustain. Even in our own case in 1971, we fought with India just for 15 days, and our military had to surrender. I mean, that's a separate story. Now we have an irregular insurgent group, not in the real sense insurgent, because Hamas was an elected government in 2005, 2006. They were popular and they are still popular. If somebody thinks that majority of the Palestinians are fed up with Hamas, I think that's not a correct understanding. And the Palestinians I have spoken with, I have seen some of their videos. They were saying that we were being killed every day by Israel through airstrikes. So it is better to fight it off. They don't have any regret. This is something extraordinary. Now, I want to now go to the very core of the part of our discussion. That is it a religious war, or it was simply miscalculation of Hamas? The sitting U.S. Defense Secretary, before becoming Secretary, he's been saying, strong advocate, that this is the high time that Israel needs to build up a third temple in the place of Baitul Muqaddas. They want to destroy it and then build up a third temple. Third temple is basically, you can say, it's a kind of their worship place, which has some kind semblance of governance structure like Hazrat Salman al-Islam had. This is their now declared policy. And what happened in Gaza, they are replicating in the occupied West Bank. 50,000 people from Jenin, is a part of West Bank, they've been thrown out. And in a similar fashion, there is airstrikes going on there. For Israel, West Bank is the most important than Gaza, because in the neighborhood of the West Bank is East Jerusalem, which is what they want at every cost. But somehow or the other, they have not been able to fully take control of it, because around East Jerusalem there is a Muslim population. Palestinians are there. And settlers have been occupying Palestinian territory. I think around 30 square kilometer area has been occupied during this 1.5 half year. It's a continuing process. Now the bigger question is, when a sitting Israeli Prime Minister who projects himself as a secular, who project Zionism, which is a secular organization apparently, and the founder of the Zionism, he projected himself that he does not believe in the existence of God. But at the same time, they wanted to occupy a land which they projected that it is meant for the people chosen by God. Does it make sense? He does not believe in the existence of God, but he wanted to have a land for his people, the land which is chosen for the chosen people of God. So this was a deceptive strategy, a method in the madness through which these Zionists have been operating. I won't go into the details of the Zionism because it will take a lot of time. Basically, they have to remove Palestinian from entire occupied Palestinian territory. That is their declared objective. From after Gaza, they will remove it from the East Jerusalem, from remaining part of the West Bank. Much of the population of Palestinians is concentrated there. It's around 5 million. Others have been expelled from there. Now, let's come to the core part, our side of the problem. The hypocrites among us. I think Iran, Houthis, Hezbollah were only allies to the Hamas and other militant groups in the occupied Palestinian territories. They genuinely helped them, provided them as much weaponry as they could have done before Hezbollah was degraded by Israel when it attacked Lebanon and there was a war, you know it. Now, even Hezbollah is not there. Even Iran is not there. Iran has shrunk itself. The supply line via Syria, it has been disrupted with the change of guard in Damascus. There's a new government there. Hamas is by and large is now on its own. So Houthis are the only player who are externally helping them. Sometimes they carry out attack through missiles, through rockets. At the Red Sea, they disrupt the Western trade in the Red Sea. And if you look at the map, Red Sea is an area which is a sea area which is between Saudi Arabia and the Yemen. Now, trade was disrupted. Saudi Arabia is an ally of Israel. Saudi Arabia helped Israel to divert its trade from Red Sea to parts of land routes of the Saudi Arabia. From Saudi Arabia, it enters into Jordan. From Jordan, it enters to occupied West Bank. And from West Bank is obviously under the control of Israel. So Saudi Arab, Jordan is obviously partner in this genocide. That's dark reality. UAE, Bahrain, when they normalized ties, the declared objective was to create an investor interest, to create stakes on, to influence Israel to create two states. Instead, UAE intelligence was very much active. They used so-called Arab businessmen, sent them to East Jerusalem. They started buying properties from the Palestinians and selling it to the Jews. Because Jews want that area to be vacated, because they have to, sooner or later, have to destroy Baitul Maqdis. That did not work. UAE exposed. Now, as we speak, UAE Red Crescent is in Gaza. Hamas leaders, obviously they have intelligence from the ground. They are telling to the people that the UAE Red Crescent is spying on Hamas. Where are their launching pads, from where they are firing rockets into Israel? So UAE is a part and parcel of a bigger crime. For entertainment, Israeli soldiers are moved to UAE and spend their time there. They have a very thick trade relation, sharing of intelligence. Bigger question is, why are these Muslim countries letting this genocide to happen? Let's focus on the Arabs. If somebody thinks that they make up the Muslim Ummah, let's forget about that notion. That's a very misleading notion. Muslim Ummah is you and me. In the streets of the Arab countries, in the streets of Pakistan, Bangladesh, Turkey, Iran, common people make up the Muslim Ummah. You think of Muslim Ummah. You have pain for Palestinians. But question is, do you think your government or any Muslim government represent that pain in their policy? Is there any sign that what you feel for Palestinian, your government feels it? Is there any reflection? You are the Muslim Ummah. But the people that claim to represent you anywhere in Muslim world, they are not Muslim Ummah. Which government in the world, Muslim world, is representing your voice? Maybe some political rhetorics, condemnation, what they have done meaningfully, what Arab countries have done meaningfully. They are giving them a helping hand. Reason Arab monarchs are so much threatened is, what is the reason? In Turkey, there is a government of Muslim Brotherhood. Let's not get into the nomenclature. In 1924, there was a biggest geo-strategic shift when 13 centuries long Muslim Ottoman Empire, good or bad, let's not get into that debate, was dismembered by France, Britain, Russia together. That is a history. The clear objective was to de-Islamize Turkey. The Jordan, the grandfather of the current regime, who is in place in Jordan, they were the biggest traitors. Britain convinced them that you are superior to the Turks, non-Arabs. Arabs are superior within the Islam than those of the non-Arabs. This is a notion which is a secular notion. This is not an Islamic notion. When you talk of Islam, everybody is equal. Turks have ruled 6 centuries over you. On what ground? Because in Islam, there is no racism. Turks, basically, they are the Mongols. They have their traces to the Mongols, who had destroyed the Abbasid Caliphate. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala system. They were made your rulers because they became Muslim. So in Islam, what matters is the belief, not the race or not your background, that you are poor or you are rich. Simply. So they destroyed Ottoman Empire. And then they banned Arabic, they banned Azan, they banned almost everything that reflects Islam. In 60s, one of their prime minister lifted ban on Azan. The military, Turkish military, hanged them. You could not have a hijab in Turkey. Just 10-15 years ago, they have restored it. So it was essentially, the plan was, all these Arab countries, they were cities of the Ottoman Empire. They were made independent countries to keep Muslim disunited. This was a part and parcel. Let's give devil their due. It is a success story. In 2020, I think in December, November, I remember it, when in Pakistan under Imran Khan, Turkey under Erdogan, Iran, Qatar, Malaysia, they had a plan, and I think perhaps it was the brainchild of Imran Khan also, along with Erdogan, to make a parallel organization to the OIC, because OIC was more practically representing apartheid Israel. Then at the last minute, MBS called up here somebody and they told them that if you go there, if Prime Minister go there, attend that conference, we would expel your 4 million workers from Saudi Arabia. You will face the consequences. It means you are building up a parallel organization. So that was not allowed to happen. I mean, there's a long list of the reason why Imran Khan was, his government was removed. Part of it is also this one. Arabs were utterly against him. All I'm saying is, now on one side there is a theological agenda religiously ideological agenda in place. West, why Donald Trump is supporting Netanyahu? You need to understand this. There is a 350 million population of the USA. 62 million among them they are representing evangelical Christianity. Their agenda is, as a declared agenda. It's not a hidden one. There's a lot of documentaries on it. That they believe that there would be arrival of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. And he would not arrive back from Jannah unless there is a bigger chaos in the occupied Palestinian territory. So who can initiate that chaos? Who can be the player of that chaos? It's Apartheid Israel. So they are helping them. It's a declared agenda. They are going out of the way to help them out. And they have found two reddish cows in Texas, which have been exported from there to the occupied Palestinian territory, and they are going to be slaughtered. And those would be burned, and then some Jews, they say that they will have a bath with them, and then they would enter in Masjid al-Aqsa and will destroy it. Their plan is, I don't know, will that plan work or not, I don't know. But from September, they want to start up basically building the third temple. It depends on the political situation. So we are having a very tough time in months to come, perhaps. And on the other hand, the Muslim countries, they've been exporting secularism. There are so many good things about secularism. I'm not here to criticize secularism. But on the other hand, they are pursuing their own ideological, deep-seated agenda. Our militant assets, like in Kashmir, they have all been now frozen. And they all have been persecuted and prosecuted. While the militant assets of the other countries, like India, they have 6 million militants. RSS has 6 million volunteers. We know this so-called Islamic State, Daesh, they don't represent Muslim. They are also, by extension, their assets. As we speak, Al Jazeera has been banned from West Bank, where so-called Fatah government is there. Why Fatah government has banned Al Jazeera? Bigger question is, Al Jazeera, do you think is projecting Israeli cause? Because it is a projecting Palestinian cause, and it was disrupting the kind of the arrangement that Fatah government had behind the scene with the Israeli government. Fatah government is an extension to the Israeli government in West Bank. And then Hamas represented it, basically Palestinian voice. They were elected by the people. They had the majority vote in Gaza. There is no doubt about it. Now, if Europe is declaring them terrorists, and in Afghanistan, Taliban were declared terrorists, anybody who resists the Western agenda is a terrorist. Now, what happened on October 7? That did not happen in 1967. When Egypt, Iraq, Syria, and all other Arab countries were together, our Air Force guys were also there. They lost it. So many countries lost it together. The scale at which Hamas damaged Israel on October 7 is unprecedented. It is basically telling you what Hamas has done, what Palestinians have done. There's a change of the situation. Now even Hamas is willing to disarm itself and become part of a coalition government. Let there be general election in Gaza. Why Israel and West is not willing to allow the general election in Gaza? Hamas would certainly lose because they are unpopular if that is a narrative of Israel. So they are not allowing it. The president of Palestinian Authority has been there for the last 15, 20 years. Why they are not holding elections? They know whenever there are elections, Hamas would be elected. Hamas is at the grassroots level. They are everywhere. They have done a lot of social work. So it is, again, this is a very important topic. The fear of Arab monarchs is that there would be revival of caliphate if Hamas is allowed to survive. Ottoman Empire was dismembered in 1924, and there were so many struggles by the Muslim Brotherhood and many political parties who had some kind of Islamic credentials. They were not allowed to form the government. In Egypt, Morsi was there for 1 year. Arab monarchs, UAE particularly, Saudi Arabia together, along with Americans and Israel, they overthrew his government in league with the Sisi. No one would allow any government which has some kind of Islamic credentials. No, you know why the West is a fear of Imran Khan? How his opponents are projecting him in the West, that this man has an Islamic credentials. His beard is in his heart. So that is a fear. Now, we've been told time and again, Islam brackets with the terrorism. It's like socialism, like imperialist Western economy, capitalist economy. Islam is also a political system. It worked by about 150 years ago. It was working in whatever shape. There's a different debate. So anyone who says that Islam is not a political system, he should read the Western authors. It's a reality. So they would not allow Islam to become a political system at any cost. And that is the fear. Arab monarchs represent that fear. And Hamas, Muslim Brotherhood is there in Turkey. In Syria, now there is a Muslim Brotherhood's government. Al-Qaeda has been basically shaped into now Muslim Brotherhood. Biggest fear now in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, in Jordan, and elsewhere in UAE is that if there is an uprising in the Middle East, there could be resumption of Arab Spring, and their governments can be overthrown, and the Muslim Brotherhoods, which have their secret branches in all our countries, they will take over. So the genocide of the Palestinians do not matter to them. Forget about war. OIC could have blocked Israel's trade. Turkey has a trade. Oil from Azerbaijan via Turkey is being oil pipeline is going to the Israel. Egypt has been importing gas. Jordan has been importing gas from Israel. They could have done a lot, but they haven't done anything. They officially could have announced boycotting all products which are linked with the Israeli companies. They haven't done it. So all I'm saying is, it is a political battle. It's a religious battle. I'm using of the word of religious because we've been so much basically tuned to the secularism. In secularism, you are free for your worships, your rituals, but you cannot have your political system. That has to be irreligious. But in Islam, it is the both. Unlike any other religion. And that is the biggest problem for the West. And that is the biggest fear for the Arab North.
But it's true that being Muslims, we have sympathies with, in a situation where everything from economy to the finance to technology, everything is controlled by the non-Zionist lobby or its allies throughout the world. In such a situation, sir, what is the option for Muslim countries? What they can do in this situation?
Well, I think I can enlist many options. But here, the biggest question is there is no will to do it. What to talk about options? They know what are the options. There could be trade blockage of Israel. Why did Saudi Arabia allow Israel secretly to use the routes of Saudi Arabia, and then Jordan allowed Israel to use the routes of Jordan, and its entire trade entered to Israel via all these Arab countries. They don't have the will, because they want to retain their hold on power at every cost. Therefore, unless there is a change in the government there, unless this entire structure is not changed, I do not foresee any change so far as the Muslim causes is concerned. We can make a lot of hue and cry, but this government would not move. But if somebody thinks that there will be a stalemate, if somebody thinks the situation would remain as it is now, they are living in fool's paradise. Being believer, we believe in Quran, and Quran says that we keep on changing the days among people. This situation is not tenable. It is a matter of time when there is going to change. This change would occur. In Syria, there is already change of guard. No one was expecting. The new leaders of the Syria, they are shocked pleasantly. When they moved to Damascus and other cities, it was skeleton. These Syrian forces were withdrawing, surrendering. There was no fight. There was very little fight. All I'm saying is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that victory lies in my hand. And whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides, it will happen. But we all have to do a struggle. At your level, what you can do, that is, we can boycott Israeli products. We can campaign for it. We can share material on our social media, on our WhatsApp group. Because all of us are going to be questioned on the day of the judgment. What you have done in your humble, little, tiny capacity, you are not going to be questioned of what your government has not done. That is the basic formulation. Actually, it is an entire game of end of time. Jews, Christians, they are reading the prophecies of end of time. And they are deciding their political policy as per those prophecies, which are there in distorted Bible and distorted Torah. Some of them are basically shared, we shared it, because we represent Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. We Muslims represent them. We keep two rosas. Why? Because we are glad that the Jews were liberated from the clutches of Pharaoh. Though not because they were Jews, because they were the Muslims. Please understand this. Islam does not believe in any ethnic profiling. One of the reasons that Hitler basically conducted this Holocaust against Jews was their interest-based economy. They had completely taken over. And then Hitler was a racist. In case of Jews, they are not only racist, but they are also religiously extremist. It's a very, very deadly combination. Please, next question.
सर आपने बात की कि जो अलकायदा है वो शेयर किया गया मुस्लिम कंट्री में। सर इसी तरह अफगानिस्तान में 1 million people किल हो गए अलकायदा पैड एंड गुट तालिबान। इसी तरह मुस्लिमों के हालात देखें तो 87,000 people किल हो गए हैं बलूचिस्तान के हालात में। सर हम इसको मुस्लिम पैलेस्टाइन इशू वहाँ पे जो लोग मर रहे हैं उनको हम जो है ना मुस्लिम जेनोसाइड कहते हैं, लेकिन क्यों हमारे एक जो फोरम है उनके लिए इस पर क्यों जगह नहीं?
I think none of us is supporting basically Hamas, as a matter of fact. We are supporting Palestinians. Now, we are such in a bad situation that whosoever is representing Palestinian will have to stand up for them. If we don't stand up for them, then we are standing up against Palestinian cause. And Hamas is not, by the way, a terrorist group. Anyone who attacks your territory, anyone who you take over your territory, he is an occupying force under the international law. Under UN Security Council resolutions, Israel is bound to vacate entire territory which it has been taking over every next day from 1967 to till now. They are straight away simply not accepting UN Security Council resolutions. They are giving reference to basically Iran-backed group like Hezbollah in Lebanon, that UN Security Council resolution should be implemented. They should move away from the borders. But they are not giving any reference of other UN Security Council resolutions which call for the two-state solutions, which calls for withdrawing from all the territory Israel occupied from 1967 till now. So basically, international law is not there. Americans are no longer a superpower. It is one of the three great superpowers, along with China, along with Russia. On the economic side, right now, there is around $18 trillion GDP of China. And Americans' US GDP is around about $24 trillion. American economists, their estimates are that within the next 5-6 years, China's economy, its size of economy, its GDP is going to surpass to the size of US GDP. Now, this Built and Road Initiative, BRI, we call it in our part as a CPAC, it has the potential of $21 trillion because it is connected to Asia, it is connected to Europe, Africa. Now what is happening in Balochistan? Part of it. Other part you have already said. I entirely agree with you. There's no doubt about it. The bigger game is to disrupt CPAC because China is rising. Americans are trying to prevent it along with India through different terrorist groups. What we are doing, what our military generals are doing, they are creating all conditions which allow people to take up arms. This BLA and all other terror groups would not have been there had there been a representative government in Balochistan and elsewhere. Not now, elections, there was no, rigging has been happening since long. Because people who represent, the leaders who represent people should govern there. They would resolve their problem. They should have the share of in the development on the equal basis. You know, what is a state? State is bound to protect you, safeguard your ideology, safeguard your children, your parents. When the state is killing your children, your parents, taking over your properties, destroying your buildings, destroying your entire agricultural land, then here we have a culture. Stay loyal with the state. It doesn't matter if you are killed. It doesn't matter if your parents are killed. It doesn't matter if your property is destroyed. You can put up with this all destruction when there is an external threat. When the enemy attacks you, you will put up with it because your own people are not doing this. But you cannot put up with this when your own people are killing you. There is no terrorism in Pakistan. It is artificially built up. Rest you know better than I do. I can explain it at length. I can go into the specific details. We can end it within months and within weeks if somebody can do it. Bangladesh can be reunited with Pakistan. It needs one leader, one genuine Pakistani leader who can just make one motivating speech there. But there is so much yearning for Pakistan in there. We are making the things from bad to the worst. It's our own making. People are being killed in KP. I've been monitoring the situation in what is happening in Balochistan and KP for the last 2 decades. I know the problems. And what you said, that is a very bitter fact. Let's move to the next question.
Sir, I am a student of IR. There is a dominant perspective in IR across Western world and all that. That is Hamas is a terrorist organization, and simply said, what Israel is doing on humanitarian grounds it is wrong, but if we talk about an realist paradigm, it is right, because if someone attacks first, like Hamas attack on 7th October, it is justified for Israel at the international level to combat that attack. But sir, my question is, what is the practical solution then in the international space? Means we say, on both sides, we can talk very idealistic, like we should boycott them, there is a Jal, Batil, like that, we can, but...
What is the rational response?
What is actually even practical side to it?
Basically what you are telling about is, I got your point. Essentially, this has been the template, these have been the templates of the solution, two-state solution. Now the point is, the biggest problem is that Netanyahu has been saying for the last 20 years that he does not concede to those two agreements. They are no longer accepting it. We should go along with those agreements. But when the signing party is not willing to recognize it any longer, then this entire discussion becomes irrelevant. Now, it's a change scenario. Basically, the reason they don't want to implement those agreements is they hate Palestinians. Now, their outgoing defense minister, Yuan, said that they are subhuman beings, they are animals. I think animals have rights in the West. You cannot treat animals in the West like this. You cannot conduct a genocide of the animals in the West. Can you? But they are conducting it. They are less than insects. The tragedy and dehumanization has been normalized. It's like 10 people are killed at front of your gate, and you move to this side of the gate every day. You are least bothered about it. So, the easiest solution is, to best of my mind, Gaza could be next with Egypt. There is no Hamas. West Bank, which borders with Jordan, it can be next East Jerusalem and West Bank with Jordan. There is no Hamas. Finished. But they don't want to have any solution. They want to expel them. They have said it publicly. They have to build third temple. It's a religious agenda. What rationality you are talking about is, by and large, is the same template internationally. Europe want a two-state solution because for them now Netanyahu is a liability. But again, they are not willing. It's a evangelical regime in the White House. It's a terrorist, fascist, religious regime in Israel. The socialist and communist political parties, they have been outnumbered. So we are heading towards a kind of a bigger religious pattern.
But it's also ground reality that there is a distinct divide among the policies of the governments. So is there a single obvious chance that these government policies will be united against the Israeli cause sooner or later?
Until unless there is a change of guards in the capitals of the Muslim country, I don't expect that this policy would be changed. Our policy of the Muslim countries, by and large, of almost of all the countries, is based on institutionalized form of hypocrisy. Institutionalized form of hypocrisy. Because what they say, they don't believe in. Behind the scene, they have all kind of cooperation. And people who have met with MBS, they are so jubilant. And they are reporting that MBS is more Jews than the Jews themselves. He is telling them that the woman who brought him up, she was a Ethiopian Jew. So, he's basically saying that he does not believe in the Palestinian cause. It is because of the public pressure that he has to maintain some semblance of opposition. Netanyahu has been meeting MBS, and Israeli officials, Saudi officials have been meeting MBS. In our own case, now the Jewish Congress have reported, they have issued a press release, and they said they're very grateful to Pakistan because they toned down an anti-Israel resolution in the UN General Assembly. That resolution in its original form was calling for a standing mechanism for the accountability of Israel. That was toned on those paragraphs were removed, and they have given credit to Pakistan. So again, I mean, it's not one person, it's not a one government. We have already done our homework to normalize ties. Now, at a time when they have conducted a genocide, informally, with the informal approval of the government, a delegation of so-called journalists were sent to Israel. Why? It's basically to desensitize you that if you normalize ties with Israel, it's okay. They are least concerned about the genocide. This is the problematic. So my understanding is that sooner or later, because everything is changing, only the change is not changing. Everything is changing, only the change is not changing. Those who think they are powerful enough, they can go ahead by conducting a fraudulent, bogus elections, and they can continue. When their arrogance would reach to a tipping point, then that will be the start of their fall. Because there has to be a arrogance at the tipping point when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's system works, and then the fall of these rulers come into being. And there is a Quranic ayah which says that Allah sallahu bi ahkamil hakimin. Allah says that He is the only ruler. There is no bigger ruler than Him. So again, we should not be pessimistic. As long as bigger change does not take place, we should play our tiny small role, and that small role is, at least in our heart, we should never accept a genocide. We should resist it, and that resistance is a very peaceful resistance. And that resistance include you are sharing pro-Palestinian stuff on your social media. You do not accept the normalization with Israel.
के प्रोडक्ट्स को बैन बाइकआउट करना चाहिए। सिर्फ हम जानते हैं कि जब इसराइल के प्रोडक्ट्स पाकिस्तान में इस्तेमाल हो रहे हैं, इसका लिटिल पोर्शन इसराइल की तरफ जाता है, जबकि ज़्यादातर इसकी जो अमाउंट है वो पाकिस्तान में यूटिलाइज होती है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर KFC बंद हो जाए तो उसके जो पाकिस्तानी वर्कर्स हैं वो अनएम्प्लॉयड हो जाएंगे। तो आपको क्या लगता है कि राइट ऑप्शन है एज अ स्ट्रगलिंग कंट्री अगर हम ये स्टेप लें?
If we believe in nationalism, if we believe that Palestinian is an Arab nation, we have got no business. You are right. Because imagine a situation where does Islam says that Muslim living in any part of the world is just like a one body. If there is a pain in one part of the body, there will be pain in other parts of the body also. They would feel it. You will go for some solution. So that is basically a secular view of the situation, that Palestine is Arab cause. In Islam, the concept of Muslim Ummah is beyond borders, geography, and language. Basically, why Pakistan was created? There was a depression among Muslims after the fall of Ottoman Empire. And then they were feeling that we should have something of the sort. And Pakistan basically is a byproduct of that depression among Muslims. They developed feeling that they should have a separate homeland. Basically, Pakistan is a leftover state of an 8 centuries long Mughaliya Muslim empire. It's not in that sense, a creation of a new country. It's a kind of administrative arrangement of a leftover of 8 centuries long Muslim empire. It's just like Turkey. They were controlling north of Africa, they were controlling parts of Europe, entire Middle East, and now only Turkey is there. So Turkey is a leftover of Ottoman Empire. So in a broader picture, if somebody loses job, but he's not killed, so which option is better? Let's save the human life. That is the more important. The prophecy of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the last prophet, he said that the caliphate would go by 13 centuries, by maximum. And his prophecy was fulfilled when Ottoman Empire was dismembered. And then there would be revival. Now, this is a pure theological perspective. When it happens, we don't know. one should not predict anything based on any occurrence of any incident. That is something very wrong, because only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows when something is going to occur. But if you want to understand the geostrategic landscape, then please study the prophecies of our beloved Prophet. That is the core of the geostrategic politics, because your opponents, Jews and Christians in the West, they are making their policies on the basis of the prophecies from Torah, which is distorted, from Bible, which is distorted. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
The growing tide of anti-Israel sentiments. What you see behind me is just tip of the iceberg of what is happening in the country. More than half of $52 billion black CIA budget is spent on espionage network in Pakistan. How would you handle it?
The US has looked upon Pakistan as an ally at one point and then as an enemy at the same time.
That is going to be the first legal reason on the basis of which he is going to be instantly ousted by the Supreme Court of Pakistan.
Joining us live, Javed Rana, who's an expert on politics and geostrategic issues.
In the world politics, which is not being driven by any moral principle, it is being driven by the hard geostrategic realities. In a broader picture, more countries would aspire to have nuclear weapons.